America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, wide with America, my home, sweet God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet
You ask me why I love her? Well, give me time. I'll explain. Have you seen a Kansas sunset or an Arizona rain? Have you drifted on a bayou down Louisiana way? Have you watched the cold fog drifting over San Francisco Bay? Have you heard a Bob White calling in the Carolina pines, or heard the bellow of a diesel at the Appalachia mines? Does the call of the Niagara thrill you when you hear her waters roar? You look with awe and wonder at her Massachusetts shore, where men who braved a hard new world first stepped on Plymouth's rock. Do you think of them when you stroll along a New York City dock? Have you seen a snowflake drifting in the Rockies way up high? Have you seen the sun come blazing down from a bright Nevada sky? You hail to the Columbia as you rush into the sea, or how you're headed Gettysburg, our struggle to be free? Have you seen the mighty Tetons who watched an eagle soar? Have you seen the Mississippi roll along Missouri's shore? Have you felt a chill at Michigan when on a winter's day her waters rage along the shore in thunderous display? Does the word aloha make you warm? Do you stare in disbelief when you see the surf come roaring in at Waimea Reef? From Alaska's cold to the Everglades, from the Rio Grande to Maine, my heart cries out, my pulse runs fast, the might of her domain. You ask me why I love her? I have a million reasons why. My beautiful America, beneath God's wide, wide sky.
American 77, your departure frequency will be 125.05, runway 30, clear for takeoff.
Papa 5, clear for takeoff, runway 30, American 77.
American 77, Dallas departure radar contact, climb and maintain 5,000.
5,000, American 77.
American 77, Dallas approach, climb maintain 17,000.
7,000, American 77.
American 77, contact Washington Center 133.27.
3327, American 77, next ticket. Washington, American 77, passing 25.1, 270.
American 77, climb maintain flight level 290, sir.
290, American 77.
American 77, turn 20 degrees right, vector for your climb.
20 right, American 77. American 77, you cover the request for 350 as the final.
American 77, roger. Maintain flight level 350, I'll show that as your final.
350 for final, American 77, thank you, sir.
American 77, climb and maintain flight level 350.
3350, American 77.
American 77, clear direct Falmouth.
Direct Falmouth, American 77, thank you, sir.
American 77, Indy. American 77, American Indy. American 77, American Indy radio check. How do you read? American 77, American radio check. How do you read?
This is Jacobs.
This is Henderson, American 77. I don't know what happened to him. I'm trying to read.
Hitting you once now for Sterling 937.
Looked like he took a turn to the south, and now I don't know what altitude he's at or what he's doing. Last night he was heading towards Falmouth at 35.
Well, just let me know.
Okay, I'll try to get a hold of him. Thanks.
Fire Department 408, where's the fire?
Yeah, hi. I'm on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center. We just had an explosion up here.
All right, we're there. We're coming up to get you.
See the smoke coming up from outside the windows down?
All right, we're on the way.
Huh?
We're on the way, sir.
Okay.
All right, just keep some windows open. If you can open up windows and just sit tight. It's going to be a while because there's a fire going on downstairs.
We can't open the windows unless we break.
Okay. Just sit tight. All right, just sit tight. We're on the way.
All right, please hurry.
2 World Trade Center on the 97th floor. Heavy smoke. Okay, sir, please try to keep calm. We'll send somebody up there immediately.
Everyone's there now trying to get you all. Okay, y'all have air. Y'all breathing okay? Okay, so you're breathing okay. I say just relax and try to stay calm. Try to keep everybody else. Try to get there to you as soon as you can.
Those more people have difficult breathing. All right, we're going to relay this to the fire department, okay? All right, sir? We're going to relay this to the line. Thank you. Sir, you want to leave the line open? I'll stay on the line with you. You don't have to talk, okay?
We just had a plane crash into upper floor of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area. We have a number of floors on fire. like the plane was aiming towards the building. You have a second plane into the other tower of the Trade Center. Major fire. You guys have jumpers, baby. Jumpers. One of the buildings is partially collapsed. And the whole entire area tank. The South Tower, basically. The other tower just collapsed. Major collapse. Major collapse. Everybody get out. We had to collapse to the second tower. Everybody's running from there. This is negative on anything, okay? Right now we're all alone. The second building came down. I can't see. So we have no contact with anybody at this time, okay?
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. When I play that music, of course, we think of our friend Charlie as well. And I want you to remember something. I want you to remember something through all the static on this 9/11. Let us never forget that Qatar gave protection to KSM, the mastermind behind 9/11, Al-Qaeda, and then helped him escape when the FBI was on his trail. And about 2 years later, 9/11 was launched. This is Qatar. They lie, they cheat, they pay for terrorism, they buy politicians, they buy businesses, they buy sporting events. This is Qatar, which gives safe haven now to Hamas the way they gave safe haven to KSM. But I want you to remember, on this 24th anniversary of that horrendous day when 3,000 Americans were slaughtered, that Qatar was behind it. Saudi Arabia, too. That's right. I have the guts to say it. But Qatar gets a pass. Qatar gets no pass from me. We'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/Levin and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Saturday's Life, Liberty, and Levin will be in honor and memory of Charlie Kirk. Just to let you know that the assassin is still at large, although they seem to be closing in on him. There are rapid developments. There's 2 photos of him that you've probably seen. I've posted them, that the FBI has put out. I would add that there's a $100,000 award for people or anyone with information leading to the capture of this individual or other individuals who were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. A high-powered bolt-action rifle was used. Let's see. They have been able to track the movement of the assassin on campus, up the stairs to the roof and out. They have a footprint, they have a palm print, and they have an arm print, a forearm. Let's see. After he murdered Charlie, he ran into a nearby neighborhood. They found his rifle in the woods, and the ammunition was engraved with expressions of and the rifle with expressions of transgenderism and anti-fascism ideology, sending a message in many ways. They'll get the guy. They'll get him. I know people are anxious for this to happen. I don't blame them, but they're going to get him. And they got to get him, and they got to be able to deal with him. If they're going to give him the death penalty, they got to dot the I's and cross the T's. And God willing, he will get the death penalty, and God willing, it will be executed without, a 20-year delay. The President of the United States said that he did speak to Erica, his wife, and she's absolutely devastated, as you can imagine. I posted a few photos that we have. We have more, but I posted these photos in particular of Charlie Kirk and my wife and me with Charlie Kirk and his wife and so forth and so on. And, the first time I interviewed Charlie was 2017. We went back and looked when Conservative Review TV existed before it acquired The Blaze. It's 2017, when he was 23 years old, Mr. Producer. And the next time I interviewed him was 2018, also at CRT. And then I played some of the audio from my interview of him on Fox in 2020. I saw early on this guy was unbelievable. And of course, last June, his book, in which I interviewed him. It was always very complimentary, constantly. Even last month, complimentary. And he's gone. And, he had an enormous impact in 31 years, didn't he? An enormous impact. And that's the example to show your kids. Here is President Trump from the Oval Office. Cut one, go.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. Mm-hmm. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children and his entire family who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace.
And here today at the Pentagon event during the anniversary of the attack on the Pentagon, Flight 77, the president said many things, but he also said this. Cut 3, go.
Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big.
Benjamin Netanyahu was on with Harris on Fox News late this morning. The Prime Minister of Israel, cut 5, go.
We're just heartbroken. Myself, my wife, my family, my son, actually, on his 2019 visit to Israel, had lunch with him and his wife, Erica. We're shattered first as human beings because a great human being has been taken from us. Was an extraordinary friend. He said, he wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And, this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra-progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
Do we have time for my clip here, Mr. Producer? Cut 6 on Hannity last night. Go.
Sean, I hear people talk about Charlie and these other networks. They don't know who they're talking about. And I want to make it clear right here. I'm not going to allow them to dehumanize this man. I'm not going to allow them to smear and character assassinate this man. He was 31 years old, and he did more in 31 years than most people do in an entire lifetime. He lived life to the fullest. He enjoyed other people. He enjoyed debating people who strenuously disagree with him. He was very much the intellectual who never went to college. He and I would discuss Rousseau and Hegel and Aristotle and Plato. He was self-taught and very much the genius. And he had the capacity to speak to everybody and anybody. I know for a fact how much he loved Donald Trump, and I know for a fact how much Donald Trump loved him. And he was a person you could love a lot. My wife and I got to know him a lot at radio events. He always would sit next to me, and we'd always crack jokes and so forth and so on. The books that I write and that he wrote, we always enjoyed interviewing each other and talking about them so much. And even when we had our little disagreements, he would always text me, Sean. And he would always say, all right, you're right. Are we still buddies? He was just such a kind-hearted human being. And he accomplished a great deal. And I want the young people who followed him to understand that he is the best model that you can follow. All these cheap politicians, that's what they are. History won't remember them. All these cheap psycho-blabbing types in TV, nobody's going to remember them. Charlie's going to be remembered because of what he did and because of the younger generation that he spawned to get involved in the liberty movement. Charlie was about liberty. He loved this country. He loved this republic. And he gave its life for it. And let me say this. You that killed him, let me tell you something. You're going to get caught. You heard the governor of Utah. You heard him tell you that they have capital punishment. And you need to be put to death. And they need to find this guy who killed this young man, who assassinated Charlie Kirk in front of 3,000 college students. And I'm not kidding. This is an attack on our republic. People say this needs to end now. This needs to end now. Well, the only way to end it is to make an example. And enough is enough with life terms. Enough is enough with all the rest of it. This guy needs to pay the price, and the whole country needs to see it. And as for the Democrats, I will say this, Sean. Many leading Democrats have shown class. Democrats who I don't like, who've shown class, because they know that this is a double-edged sword, that if this becomes the norm, and it is becoming the norm, then this country's over. They tried to kill our president twice. They killed Charlie Kirk. They assassinated Charlie Kirk. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, the way you put an end to this is to put an end to it. That's how you put an end to it. And people talk about there wasn't enough security. You got a guy shooting from 200 yards with a high, powerful rifle. You're never going to have enough security to stop somebody like that unless you stop them up front. And what are we going to do on every college campus? How much security can there possibly be? There is a sickness that has run loose in this country. There is a sickness that has run loose in the radical left media, in the Democrat Party, with the Muslim Islamists and all the rest of it. Those of us who love the country, it doesn't even cross our mind to physically harm somebody. Charlie Kirk was a pussycat. He was an easygoing guy. He's the most decent guy you could possibly meet. He would befriend you. He didn't give a damn if you were liberal, you were conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatever you are. He tried to persuade you with a smile on his face. This guy, if you were eating with him, he'd give you your dessert. He didn't care. That's the kind of young man this was. Now his wife, Erica, is without her husband. These two little babies don't even know what happened, his kids. This is horrendous. Charlie Kirk is the American story. He's quintessential American. He did lift himself up by his own bootstraps. He was self-educated on so many smart things. He was a genius in his interaction with people, not because he was conniving, because that's who he was. This is a remarkable human being who's been taken from his family and his country. I see these lowlives all over the place, killing people, doing drugs, getting out in jail. And sometimes you say to yourself, God, they live and a guy like Charlie Kirk dies? It puts you to the test. It really does put you to the test. We are going to miss Charlie Kirk, but we will never forget him. And I want all the people attacking him on the other networks to know, I don't give you 1 second's attention. The world doesn't give a damn about you. And when you're gone, nobody's going to know who you are. Unlike Charlie Kirk. who in 31 years has made a stamp on this planet that will not be forgotten, and we will make sure of that.
What we have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option. Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know, I read all the New York papers today because of 9/11, and sadly, not one of them mentioned Qatar's role in protecting and then tipping off and helping KSM escape the FBI's net when the FBI came into Qatar to capture him. And not long thereafter, he was running the 9/11 operation. Now, I'm never going to forget this. I know there's this big suit going on against Saudi Arabia, and I'm all for it, of course. But I'm talking about Qatar. Qatar is now threatening Israel, saying, you violated our sovereignty. Isn't that precious? Isn't that quaint? Violated their sovereignty. They have the kingpins, some of them, many of them, of Hamas, who they've been protecting while they're ordering terrorist attacks against the Israelis and the Israeli people. It's shocking to me that this Qatar gets away with this, and that they have bought and paid for politicians, mostly Democrats, but some Republicans, on Capitol Hill and in and out of government. But never forget Qatar's role. Never. Because people want you to forget it in the media, especially. I've got lots more. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. In June, Charlie Kirk was asked, rather a strange question at the time, but here we are. If you die, how do you want to be remembered? Here's what he said. Cut 7, go.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had his head screwed on right, didn't he? Here is a truncated form from the New York Post, 2 of Charlie's most memorable debate moments with college students. Cut 8, go.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself? Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a registered
so I
voter.
vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
You create a company that's like close to being a fascist, and then like.
Okay. Well, how am I?
Sorry.
Let's go through this. How am I a fascist?
No, dude. Like you.
Can you name one thing I believe that's fascist?
You believe that like you are. But
I'm such a bad fascist. I let the people who disagree in open mic to talk to me for 2 hours uninterrupted.
Okay.
I'm an awful fascist. I'm more like a free speech liberal of the 1970s, not a fascist.
But I just want to say Turning Point USA is a evil company that was funded by thousands of fracking companies, and that
no, it's not thousands, but we do have some frackers that give us money. But
and then all it is making the rich more rich.
Fascism to fracking.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Okay, again, I'm happy to have a debate. I can see you're getting kind of fired up.
I'm sorry.
So, but why are we evil? Like, we're having a nice discussion.
Because
all of a sudden you're calling me like
because
a
it
fascist.
seems like you just want the rich get even more rich. Like
we haven't talked about the rich at all. I mean, so you don't even know my positions on this stuff.
Run circles around these buffoons. And then this montage of Democrats celebrating Charlie, his death. His death. Now, there were some leading Democrats elected who actually said the right things, in my humble opinion, but not enough. And I've got things here of all the slime balls and the things they said, and not just politicians, but throughout the culture. It is bad. It's bad out there. Really bad. I'm getting calls from management, Mr. Producer. TV and radio. I won't say what they're telling me to do, but I will tell you offline. They're worried about yours truly here. I'll be fine. Here's the montage. Cut 15. Go.
He probably made like thousands of trans kids kill themselves. I literally could not give a they can get a stepfather.
Do you support his death?
I do.
You support his death?
Charlie Kirk.
You support Charlie Kirk being killed?
Yes, I do.
On the day he died, you're here at a vigil for Charlie Kirk, and you support his death.
Do you support a Nazi?
No, I don't support a Nazi. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Nazi. You support his shooter?
Yep, sure do. It's freedom.
You support Charlie Kirk's shooter?
Sure do. He did us all a favor.
Would you shoot somebody like Charlie Kirk?
I would have killed him myself.
So in light of this beautiful news, I would like to propose that we turn Charlie Kirk into a verb. For example, I think that Stephen Miller needs to be kirked.
I will always celebrate the demise of people that happily dehumanize disenfranchised communities. And if that makes me a bad person, well then, I'm a bad little boy. Hey Siri, play Livin' La Vida Loca.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say. But you know what this is clear to me, Mr. Producer? This isn't over. Miranda Devine has an incredibly important piece in the New York Post. She will be on the program in hour 3 about exactly what's taking place here. The left is violent. They keep trying to suggest that the violence is on the right. Now, clearly there are violent people, but when it comes to just an overall attitude and belief system, the left is dangerous, and it is violent, and it's done a lot of violence. Apparently it's going to continue to do a whole lot of violence. And over at Breitbart, a gentleman by the name of Nolte, who I read all the time, he's a good guy. He has a piece out. And he says, let's see if I can find it right quickly here. If it's not, then here it is. And this is by, John Nolte's been writing there a long time. Gymmed up by a corporate media eager to dehumanize us into something that demands killing, Nazis, fascists, etc. The violent and awfully deadly attacks on conservatives just keep coming. I'm sure I missed some, but here's a comprehensive list as I could come up with. September 2025, Charlie Kirk, assassinated, murdered. April 2025, Turning Point USA students assaulted at UC Davis. April 2025, arson attack on New Mexico GOP headquarters. September 2024, second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. July 2024, bullet hits Donald Trump in the ear as would-be assassin aims for his head. April 2023, swimming star Riley Gaines, assaulted by transgender mob at Turning Point USA event. June 2022, assassination attempt on Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. June 2022, 23 pro-life organizations vandalized, firebombed by pro-abortion activists. May 2020, rioters assault Breitbart reporter, another journalist outside the White House. October 2018, 2 Minnesota Republican candidates assaulted. September 2018, GOP headquarters hit with arson attack in Laramie, Wyoming. November 2017, Senator Rand Paul attacked by a neighbor. June 2027, leftist terrorist shoots up GOP congressional baseball practice. And we know what happened to Steve Scalise. He almost died. But 4 others were wounded. Yep. December 2016, Milo video producer attacked by communist student protesters at UWM. August 2012, oh, I remember this one. Family Research Council hit with terror attack. Suspect made statements regarding their policies and then opened fire with a gun, striking a security guard. The gunman may have also been carrying a bag from Chick-fil-A, a restaurant that's been attacked by those on the left because of its owner's stance against gay marriage and so forth. If cheering on violence against us, writes Nolte, harassment and verbal threats were added to this list, we'd run out of internet. And I was thinking, can you imagine if we did a list of all the attacks on Jewish locations, Jewish schools, synagogues, individuals? The list would never end. And it's mostly the same people. The same ideology, this Marxist Islamist ideology that I keep warning about over and over and over again. It's so true what Nolte writes here. And you just listen to these people. It's not stopping. They just keep at it and at it and at it. Their media do it. Their politicians do it. Obviously not all of them. In a group, not all of anybody does anything. But darn a lot of them. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk, wireless worth bragging about. Here's AOC on Capitol Hill yesterday. Cut 11, go.
People can finger point all they want. Look at the record. Look at the actions of what we are doing. I don't think a single person who has dedicated their entire career to preventing gun safety legislation from getting passed in this House has any right to blame anybody else but themselves for what is happening.
I see. You know, murdering people, that's illegal. It's a capital offense in every state. If we just had laws against these people getting guns, that would fix it all. Did she sound like she had a compassionate syllable in her big, fat mouth? Did it? Not one? She's not alone. She's not alone. You got a guy, Seth Moulton, who's considered a moderate representative from Massachusetts. He's a fraud and a phony and a fool, too. Then you got Pritzker, who's really turned into a complete piece of you-know-what. Blames Trump for Charlie's murder. Is it getting any stupider than that? Getting any more vulgar than that? These are vulgar. These are vulgarians. May I call them that, Mr. Producer? They're vulgarians. That's what they are. These are heartless vulgarians. You know, before I went on with Hannity last night, I started to write down a few things. It turns out I'm not alone, because this morning, I think it was Charlie Hurt and our friend Katie Pavich were thinking of the same thing. They may have mentioned the same thing. I thought to myself, Charlie was 31 years old, Charlie Kirk. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he drafted the bill. I got it. When he drafted the Declaration of Independence. 33. 33. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, when he was at the Constitutional Convention doing what he was doing, was 35. Think about these things. Think about them. Where do you think Charlie Kirk would have fit in back then? He would have fit right in, beautifully. Beautifully. I mean, we are defending our republic, our Constitution, our Declaration, the whole point of the American Revolution from these people. They reject it all. They reject it. You know, I call this stuff negative power. It's the pursuit and maintenance of negative power required the utilization of negative techniques of communication, including manipulation, deception, repetition, deceit, concealment, distraction, and fearmongering, and language that is intimidating, self-serving, and orchestrated. It is an approach that seeks to arouse prejudices and stifle independent thought. The purpose is to exert power over language and to control the population without moral reservations. Indeed, mortality itself is said to be relative. Morality itself is said to be relative, or nothing but an abstraction concealing the rot of open societies and democracies, and obfuscating the exploitation of the people. Was that not just AOC? In the political context, when language is applied this way, it strikes a central part of the democratic system, denying the body politic information with which to make knowledgeable, qualitative, and collective decisions. Of course, this is the intention of its practitioners. Moreover, communication of this sort exists for the purpose of arousing and angering the citizenry and exhorting them to action that is destructive of the existing society and their own lives and lifestyles, in service to the demagogue and his aims. Let me repeat that. When I wrote this, obviously I had no idea what was going to happen in this specific case. But I obviously did have an idea that this stuff leads to violence and it never stops. Moreover, communication of this sort exists for the purpose of arousing and angering the citizenry and exhorting them to action that is destructive of the existing society and their own lives and the lifestyles in service to the demagogue and his aims, as much as the people and their consent are the only legitimate and just source of government. The entire enterprise becomes corrupt and malevolent. Unfortunately, citizens acquiesce to it, regurgitate it, even demand it, where applicable vote for it, like they're going to in New York, Mondami, believing there is no other course, or that it is the best course, until it's too late to reverse course without an abrupt and often violent revolt. But for many, suffering persists for an extended period of time. Prior to the Russian Revolution, there's a 1902 pamphlet by Vladimir Lenin. What is to be done was his pamphlet. He argues, quoting Britannica, quote, that the propagandist, whose primary medium is print, explains the causes of social inequities, such as unemployment or hunger, while the agitator, whose primary medium is speech, seizes on the emotional aspects of these issues to arouse his audience to indignation or action. Is that not what the left does? Charlie Kirk very calmly engaged in debate. Agitation is thus the use of political slogans and half-truths to exploit the grievances of the public, and thereby to mold public opinion, to mobilize public support, is what I write. Propaganda, by contrast, is the reasoned use of historical and scientific arguments to indoctrinate the educated and so-called enlightened members of society, such as party members. The combination of these two, agitation with propaganda, is called agitprop, A-G-I-T-P-R-O-P. It was a special of Lenin and the communists before and during the Russian Revolution and after. For Marxism and other forms of autocratic ideologies and governing systems, negative power is exercised through language that is tailored to lord over the people and control the society and culture. Language is a tool of the state that serves the state. It takes on an official character. I'm reading this to you because when you hear these people speak, please understand where they're coming from, where their minds are, such as they are. The goal is to subvert the civil society and the principles, values, and beliefs on which it was established, corrupt the public spirit, and reject compromise and accommodation. Got it? It's exactly what's going on. Be right back. When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk, wireless worth bragging about.
This is Radio Free America on the Mark Levin Show. Call now, 877-381-3811.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, every single person has something untoward to say about Charlie at a time like this. Hates your guts. Hates you. Wants you to drop dead. Charlie's views represented your views. Quintessential American views. Love of faith, love of family, love of country. Quintessential. His views, other than the fine print, were no different than the vast majority of the founders and the framers of the Constitution. That's the truth. I knew him long enough or well enough I can convey that to you. always inquisitive, always wanting to learn more. Whatever he knew about Aristotle, he read on his own. Pretty much me, too, because they never taught it in school. But you get my point. You listen to him talking. You're impressed, aren't you? I think he once said his three mentors or heroes: Rush Limbaugh, Donald Trump, and Breitbart. Now, Rush Limbaugh, Donald Trump, and Breitbart. Rush Limbaugh was one of my best friends. Breitbart and I were friends. Donald Trump and I are friends. Charlie Kirk and I are friends. What makes them different? They're rebels. That's what makes them different. Rush went to college for 1 month and he dropped out. He couldn't stand it. Changed all of talk radio, all of it. But he was fired 7 times before his greatness was recognized. You know the story of Donald Trump and Breitbart and Charlie. No, I'm not going to college, he says. I've got a lot to do, and I'm not learning a damn thing here. All rebels. I think they all saw something in each other that way. But those are 3 pretty good heroes to have, don't you think, Rich? The Qatar foreign minister, I mentioned this today, it's important because Qatar had a central role in 9/11 that nobody talks about except me. Their foreign ministry spokesman, Dr. Madman Ansari, Dr. Majed Al-Ansari, was on Fox and Friends with our friend Brian Kilmeade, and here's how some of this went. Cut 16, go.
Did you condemn the attacks on the bus station that killed 7 innocent people who had the audacity to wait for mass transportation?
I think, Brian, when our country's sovereignty was attacked by a state actor like Israel, our main concern right now is with our own national security, our own sovereignty, and the blatant attack on our sovereignty taken by a state that is a member of the European Union, of the international community.
But that group has had 2 years to negotiate after an attack on October 7th that you never condemned, to get their hostages out, innocent people starving to death.
October. Your information is incorrect.
Okay,
Brian.
October. Okay, so you have 20 people alive under
the 7th of October attacks.
October.
We did condemn these attacks.
Excuse me, pal. You own Al Jazeera, hook, line, and sinker. They don't write a damn thing without your approval, and they've been celebrating it ever since. This guy's a liar. Go ahead.
Blatant misinformation campaign by Prime Minister Netanyahu to try to put Qatar in the middle of this will not work. On the 7th of October, the leaders of Hamas were not in Doha. They were brought to Doha for the negotiations that were held between Hamas and Israel with the support of the United States.
But they live there in luxury.
Let me make it very clear again. On the 7th of October, the images of the Hamas leaders, that was not in Doha. It was somewhere else.
But before October 7th, it was. Now, why would they be brought to Doha to discuss the hostages on October 7th, Mr. Producer? Kilmeade's quite good. Go ahead.
They were brought to Doha to discuss the hostage
I didn't bring up the images.
But the misinformation by Prime Minister Netanyahu
I didn't bring up the images.
in order to justify...
This has nothing to do with Prime Minister Netanyahu. It's not his information. Cut 17, go.
True or false, before this meeting, they were supposed to live, the deal was essentially give up all the hostages for a ceasefire. And they said that this adds up. This offer is essentially, of course, they get Palestinian prisoners back. They said this offer adds up to capitulation. That was the premise leading up to this. And if you think that the relation between the bombing at the bus station hours before which had to be green-lighted or at least okayed, certainly not condemned, by those people taking part in the negotiations. How do you expect Israel to take that?
How do you expect Qatar to take an attack on its sovereignty at the time?
Jackass, what were the leaders of Hamas doing in your country plotting the attack on Jerusalem? He says, oh, well, they're there because we're negotiating a hostage deal. They don't have to be there to negotiate the hostage deal. This guy's a fraud. And it goes on like that. Brian does a good job. The guy's just a liar. That's a problem. Guy's just a liar. Just like they lie about what they did on 9/11. That they let this KSM, they let them loose. I encourage you to go ahead and Google it. Or use whatever service you may. But Google's become the verb for it. Go ahead and Google it. Google Qatar, Google KSM, Google the FBI, even the most radical left-wing British papers, The Guardian, the BBC broadcast service, they've all pointed it out. The Clinton administration pointed it out. The Bush administration pointed it out. Qatar. First of all, they were trying to figure out how to get this guy without telling Qatar because they knew Qatar would tip him off. And this guy, Richard Clark, I think who's since gone, you might recall this guy, he wrote all about it. He said the problem was our intelligence services and our federal law enforcement services didn't want to take steps to get a hold of this guy in violation of Qatar's sovereignty or something to that effect. So they had to tell Qatar, okay, we know KSM is there. We're coming and we're going to get him. And they went to his apartment where he was, and he wasn't there anymore because the Qataris had been funding him. He was a well-known international terrorist with Al-Qaeda. He didn't escape. They not only let him free, they helped him leave. And the next thing we know, he's behind the attack on 9/11, 24 years ago that we're talking about tonight. I'm the only one talking about this. And this Qatari foreign minister, he knows what they've done with Hamas. There's study after study. There's administration after administration. Go ahead and look at it. It's all available. Kilmeade's right. This guy's a liar. Get Hamas. Just don't get them in Qatar. What are we talking about here? You know, here's the thing. Just as when our people are attacked and murdered by terrorist entities and organizations, that we intend to get them back, like bin Laden, violate, quote-unquote, Pakistan's sovereignty, violate, quote-unquote, our allies' sovereignty. That's what we did. We sent our special forces in there. We didn't tip off the Pakistanis because the Pakistani military, and probably the government, but certainly the military, were protecting bin Laden. So we went in and killed him. We also hit Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We just go, well, that's a sovereign nation. We can't. What are you talking about? They're terrorists operating out of a sovereign nation. Just like there's terrorists operating out of Qatar. Qatar. It's nothing to do with Netanyahu. I believe in Netanyahu. Now I'm starting to think I understand why some of our envoys talk like this, Mr. Producer. You get my point? To listen to this moron, that Netanyahu feeding you false, that Netanyahu. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk. Wireless worth bragging about. Miranda Devine will be on next hour talking about, from the New York Post, talking about this piece she wrote about the left and the violence that they are not just perpetrating, but increasing violence that they're promoting. And there's no question that they are. None. I mean, they really have ice water for blood in their veins. Oh, yes. I want to read something that was put out by Turning Point. Turning Point itself. Every one of us at Turning Point, it says, hold on. Every one of us at Turning Point USA is crushed and devastated by the hateful murder of our founder and guiding light, Charlie Kirk. These people were all very close. All of us have lost a leader, a mentor, a friend. Above all, our hearts are with Erica and their 2 children. More than anyone, Charlie believed in the power of argument and good faith debate to find the truth and guide people towards, if not agreement, then at least mutual understanding. Charlie was no stranger to threats. He received thousands throughout his life. Thousands. But he always prioritized reaching as many young Americans as possible over his own personal safety. Now Charlie has become America's greatest martyr to the freedom of speech he so adored. This is from the Turning Point folks. In his 31 years, Charlie lived more than any of us will in 100. He had an overwhelming passion for life, deep belief in his power as an individual to make a difference. And with the spirit of a pioneer, Charlie launched Turning Point out of his parents' garage as an 18-year-old with no money, no name recognition, only a dream. His energy and drive were awe-inspiring, without equal, and deeply infectious. Charlie refused to squander a single day of his life. He was a natural builder and problem solver who loved a challenge and saw every setback as a chance to learn, grow, pray, and try again. He was fundamentally decent, always eager to make new friends and allies and to support and defend the ones he had already made. His values were timeless, American ones: honesty, forthrightness, duty, loyalty, and fair play. Charlie loved America, its people, its Constitution, its freedom, and the limitless good, all of them have done for the world. But above all, Charlie lived every day with an overflowing love of Christ, of the Christ he knew he would one day get to see. When asked, Charlie said that above all, he wished to be remembered for his faith. Far more than a political victory, Charlie wanted to see a spiritual revival among America's young. He wanted a nation of happy, thriving families who loved God and each other. At his final public speech, just days before his murder, Charlie witnessed to Christ to an audience of non-believers. Even in his last moments, his very last moments, Charlie was professing the gospel. He ran his race well, all the way to the end. Now he goes to his heavenly reward. God, this is upsetting. It's a beautiful statement. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Of all the things I do, this is my favorite. Always has been. Always been a radio guy. As a teenager, I've told you that story. Used to call in the Bill Corsair's show. Just had his birthday, wonderful man. When he was on what was WCAU in Philadelphia, they've changed it to WPHT, and it's now owned by Soros. But back then it was owned by William Paley, his first station, before he bought a number of stations and created what we now know as CBS. And their headquarters has been on the main line in Bala Cynwyd, Philadelphia now for decades. And I have letters here. You know, I used to write them, kind of harass them. I wanted to do a radio show when I was a teenager. I was 16, and finally they let me on for about a half hour just to get off their backs. Just to get off their backs. And now there's this. And I've been here 23 years or so, I guess, and I love every minute of it. This is my home. And you are my radio family. This is our national town hall meeting every weeknight. People always tell me, you had dinner with us last night. Or, I made dinner for you last night. It's my honor. It turns out my in-laws used to listen to this program when they were eating dinner. Then I met, of course, their daughter. And here we are. And it's times like this that I cannot stress enough how lucky I am to have you out there, how blessed I am, how much I appreciate it. I do. I never take it for granted. Never, ever. Never, ever. Without you, this show doesn't exist. And without you, we don't win the election. Without you, the country doesn't work. And you know what else? You always have my back. Always. Always. You always have my back. Doesn't mean you have to agree on every damn thing, but you always have my back. I am greatly honored. And I always try to have your back, too. I really do. It's very, very important. I want to play for you now. It's 1 minute long, Mr. Producer. Representative Ilhan Omar on Mehdi Hassan's YouTube channel. Mehdi Hassan is an anti-Semite. He's a true lowlife, a real punk. Douglas Murray has debated him and kicked his ass from sea to shining sea, but he's got an early video out there, the heinous things that he says. A real Jew hater, in my humble opinion. I don't know how else to explain, but then they say, no, I'm just anti-Zionist. No, I'm just anti-Netanyahu. These are the words of the deceivers, in my view. Charlie passes away, and I want you to listen to this. And my last check was Charlie wasn't Jewish. He was Christian. Cut 38, go.
What I do know for sure is that, you know, Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, you know, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, you know, like than to completely pretend that, you know, his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so.
Mm-hmm. So here they are, trashing Charlie Kirk, twisting his statements. I get this all the time. I think we all do. To try and turn him into something and what he has said into something that he was not. Charlie didn't downplay slavery. Charlie didn't attacked George Floyd, he exposed his background. That's what he did. What else are they accusing him of here? I don't know. Does it really matter? See, I'm not going to go through and play all of them. I'll leave that to some of my colleagues on TV and radio. But these two are particularly reprehensible because they're Islamists. They're particularly reprehensible because they're apologists, in my view, for Hamas. Oh, I know that's what was done, and then they give an explanation for things that are inexplicable. Or they're explicable, but they're grotesque. And that's what Devine and others mean when they talk about these leftists. This guy Hassan, he almost seemed giddy, didn't he, Mr. Producer? He almost seemed joyful. Almost seemed joyful. As they take this young man and they libel him and smear him. Two people who are Islamists, certainly in my view, but I think as an objective matter, they are. Hamas apologists, certainly in my view, and I think as an objective matter, they are, who've said some of the most awful things about America, about Jews, about Trump, about conservatives, making statements like this about Charlie Kirk. Truly sickening. We've invited Omar on this show. She's a coward. We've invited AOC on this show. She's a coward. We've invited all these thugs, Bernie Sanders, Raskin, all the Marxists, all the Islamists. Not one of the Marxists or Islamists will come on this program. Not one. Not one. You see, Charlie would try to persuade people like this. People like this, I seek to crush, not persuade, Mr. Producer. There is a difference, you know? Charlie was a very sweet man. Very. When I deal with people like this, I'm rabid. I despise them. I cannot stand them. Because they promote an ideology, a radical ideology. I'm not talking about Islam per se. You know what I'm talking about. That is deadly, that is vile, that seeks to overthrow our country because it's incompatible with our founding. And they've come into this country not to embrace it, not because they're blessed by it, but they come in here and they spread their cancer to overthrow it. Fundamentally, that's what they do. A lot of people call the program and they'll use the word why with a question. Why this? Why that? And if I can answer it, I will. But if I can't, my answer always is sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes we already know the difference between good and evil, and why doesn't get us where we need to go. They need to be defeated. These people need to be defeated. Not physically. That's them, not us. They just do. Otherwise, we won't survive. We'll be right back. Scheduled is Miranda Devine.
Mark Levin.
Pleasure to have Miranda Devine with us at the New York Post. Miranda Devine, you wrote a very important piece that I'd like you to discuss with us. Charlie Kirk's assassination is latest evidence the U.S. is suffering an epidemic of leftist violence. I mean, it really is leftist violence, isn't it? It's an epidemic.
Yes, it really is. And, I listen to CNN and they talk about political violence, a rise in political violence. It's all coming from one direction. And honestly, I don't think that any of us are in any mood to be polite and both sides it again and say, oh, all sides need to bring down the temperature. There is one side of politics that is attacking the other side, and, it needs to be said.
It needs to be said. Did you know Charlie Kirk at all? Had you ever met him?
Yes, I did. I didn't know him well. I'd been on his show a number of times, about a dozen times, and always admired him. I would run into him at events. He was always, larger than life, surrounded by people, a very humble young man, and just a couple of years older than my oldest son. So I feel, very, very sad about his passing and the immense, treasure that he was to the country, and particularly to the conservative movement, and what he could have done and achieved. But he achieved so much in such a short time. He was a very serious person and never wasted any time, and it was as if he didn't have time to waste, and almost as if he knew that he had to get as much accomplished as possible.
And you point out, even with the attack on Josh Shapiro's family at his home, we're talking about really what I call this Marxist, Islamist fusion, which the Democrat Party provides sort of an umbrella for all these groups and so forth and so on. Is that your point as well?
Yes, absolutely. The attack on Josh Shapiro's house was from a pro-Hamas, anti-Israel leftist, just like the assassination of those two young couples who were Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C. Earlier this year. Same, a pro-Hamas. It's the same. They're leftists, whether they're Islamist leftists or just communist leftists or transgender leftists. It's all the same. And the Democratic Party, unfortunately, it's not nice to say it, but they give succor to these people. They encourage them. It is as if they are pouring their rage into these people, and they know that when they demonize someone like Charlie Kirk, who was not divisive, it infuriates me to have him be described in the media as a divisive figure. In death, they call him, he was a divisive figure. He was, he spouted hateful rhetoric. No, he didn't. He actually did the exact opposite. He reached across the aisle to talk to young people. That was the secret of his success on campuses. He went to those campuses and he explained with logic and reason and good humor and rationally. He just had debated these young people and who had been propagandized, and he won over souls. I mean, he saved souls when he was doing that, and that made him such a potent force for the conservative movement, for Donald Trump's re-election in 2024, for a reawakening of this new generation, the Kirk generation, really. And it will live on, his legacy.
Yes, it
what
will.
He did.
Yeah. Miranda Devine, if you're of this Marxist Islamist mindset, you hate the American founding, you hate the American founders, you promote this whole racist notion of white supremacy and all the rest of it. So of course they're going to hate Charlie Kirk and others like me and you and so forth, because we love the founding and we love the fact that this Constitution is so spectacular and so forth. So they're going to hate us no matter how nice we are to them, aren't they?
Absolutely. But also, they're going to hate us because they've been lied to about who President Trump is, about who Charlie Kirk is and what he says by the media, by the Democrat media and Democrats who lie. I mean, Joe Biden calling Trump supporters semi-fascist. The drumbeat that has been going on for years against Donald Trump, that he's a fascist, a Nazi, a Hitler. It doesn't work. because enough people are smart enough or have had the scales fall off their eyes that they realize the truth. But it's that steady propagandizing, just like happened in Rwanda with the Houthis and the Tutsis, and you had Radio Rwanda constantly bombarding people with these lies that one side was evil. You are going to have people on the fringes that are going to believe that message. They're going to believe the messengers who seem all very reasonable when they sit up there on MSNBC and call Charlie Kirk a white supremacist or a misogynist, or call Donald Trump a Hitler, an authoritarian who's destroying democracy. These people really, the fringe people who believe that, will go out and do terrible things because they believe it's justified or necessary.
You know, Miranda Devine, I'm not. One of the things that troubles me are these corporations that own these news outlets.
Yeah,
and they don't do a damn thing about it. I mean that people should be fired and the platform should be cleaned up. I mean, these are not news organizations. They're not even opinion organizations. They're hate America organizations. They just keep slamming away. And for these corporatists to have these kinds of news outlets, it's almost inconceivable to me. Do you think a lot of them own them just to protect themselves from being attacked by their own media?
Well, that could be true. I mean, look, the Democratic Party is now billionaires. It's the wealthiest, the protected classes, and the underclass. Average people who have to work for a living, who are subject to law and order, who care about crime on the streets, they are flooding towards the new Republican Party. So I think that those billionaires who own those corporations, they're woke themselves. They don't care. It's part of their social circle. It's just it's just the way things are. It's just the fashion of the moment. And they know that there's never any consequences for them. They're not the ones who are going to jail because they've shot someone, but they know full well that what they're doing is whipping up an atmosphere in which someone, they hope, will be incited to violence. They know that, and we can see they don't care by their attitudes on social media today and yesterday after Charlie Kirk was shot. These are teachers. These are government employees. They don't care. They celebrate his death. And they know there are no consequences for them, but they are just have no morality. Their moral compass is completely
Well, let me
awry.
just say this about you, Miranda Devine. Your column is a must-read. We love reading it here. I want to thank you for what you do. You're not only gutsy, you're really smart. So God bless you, my friend.
Thanks very much, Frank.
That's Miranda Devine. She's fantastic, and she's right on. I'll be right back.
Mark the 10, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
All right, let's take some calls. Fred, Kansas City, Missouri. Excuse me, wrong. Kansas City, Kansas. KCMO, how are you, Fred?
Good, how you doing?
Okay, thank you.
You're a good judge of music, and I just happen to be the best DJ in the country.
Really?
I have the perfect tribute song for Charlie.
Yeah? I'm listening.
It's actually a remake in 2021 of Abraham, Martin, and John.
All right, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to keep moving. I apologize to you. Let us go to Wolf, Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, XM Satellite. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much for taking the call. I wanted to just say that moving down from New Jersey down to the beautiful Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, I was compelled to help some farmers down here, and I think there are many people that can reflect Charles' attitude, his process, and if we can mirror the type of things that we all feel in our hearts that we can do to help people. There's a million things out there that we can do to just honor his legacy by reflection. He was a powerful, well-spoken. I mean, the words of power that he carried is something that we can hopefully mirror as an honor to him. I don't want to be distracted by the negativity and the nonsense. I just want to keep moving forward. And we all in our lives, I tell this to my children, we know what's good. We can recognize goodness, follow that path in honor of this man who set a great example. And I just wanted to share that. If there's any way that we could...
That's a very positive and smart statement. I had somebody call me today. They were going through all the negative things, and I got a whole stack of them here, and I said, you know what, I'd rather not focus my mind on the repulsive and the unconscionable. I want to focus my mind as much as I can on this good man. And I think you're exactly right, Wolf. Now, in Shenandoah Valley, have you ever lived there during the winter?
Absolutely. I threatened to come back. I told my friends I'd retire down here someday, and I've done so. But I love it.
I
love
beautiful.
Every season of the world.
Yep.
All right. The world provides.
Great call. Appreciate you. Let's go to David, Atlanta, Georgia, on the Mark Levin app. David, go right ahead, please.
Hey, Mark. Given the last 24 hours and everything that's transpired, it's given me some time to think about Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. And I think the best way to describe him is he was authentic. Mm-hmm. What you see is what you got. And it made me remember, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in 1997. Mm-hmm. And Rush would always say that the media didn't make him, so they couldn't break him.
Exactly.
And Charlie Kirk made himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave you some food for thought. If this man had not been assassinated, can you imagine what might have happened in the next 2 years with him reaching the youth? And let's say J.D. Vance decides to name him as his running mate as a vice president.
I don't think J.D. was going to do that, but we can imagine or speculate all we wish. I thought you were going to say, can you imagine this guy, how he would have affected the culture over the next 30 years? That's the way I view it. And I believe that's the way he viewed it, too. So, all right, my friend, you take care of yourself. Pleasure to talk to you. Let's go to Jacob, Fort Worth, Texas, the great WBAP. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm okay.
So, you say you want to keep your mind off the negatives. I hate to bring them back, but I posted something on social media yesterday. It was 5 words. It was politically motivated assassination.
Well, it is. It's a political assassination.
Right. And then that brought out, of course, all the, so to say, diamonds in the rough. And it brought things to light for me is that I don't understand how some people can have just a complete loss of the human factor that's still at play here. Like, I mean, this is a 31, 32-year-old male who lost his life, leaves behind children, leaves behind a beautiful wife. It's, how can you possibly wish something so vile on
I'll tell you how, and I'll tell you why. Because this thing I talk about, this Marxist Islamism mentality, is inhumane. It's absolutely inhumane. It rejects the founding. It rejects the Enlightenment. It rejects all these things that this country was based on. So if you're out there supporting our country, you're just supporting our country. Its founding, its declaration, its constitution, these things, you're to be despised. And when you look at these Marxist societies and Islamist societies, again, Islamist radical societies, these are very dangerous, violent societies. And when that kind of ideology and indoctrination and acculturation spread through our society rather than the reverse, rather than the assimilation of these individuals into our culture, I think this is what you get. And some of it's obviously homegrown. Maybe a lot of it's homegrown because of what's going on in our colleges and universities and the media and so forth and so on. Make sense? That's
right.
What I think's going on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And even there's an example of that in Greenville, South Carolina. There was a teacher that was fired from a school district. Like, a teacher is supposed to be somebody who instills morals into our children at an early age. And he had posted something on social media that said, oh, well, I feel for him and his family, but America just got better. You know, that's just disgusting. There's no place for that.
No, there's no place for that. None whatsoever. It's sickening. It's un-American. And that's my point. This whole area, this ideological area with the Marxists and the Islamists is really incompatible with a civil society. It's utterly incompatible. And so you have these truly sick people who are really into this. Like the couple that I played and many of these other people, this is where you go with it. Thank you for your call, my friend. Terrible. Let's go to Bill, Cheyenne, Wyoming, XM Satellite. Go ahead, Bill. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. First thing I want to do is I want to thank you for the signed book that you sent me. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the history of Palestine and everything. But my heart right now is broken. I want prayers for Charlie's wife, his daughters, his family. I want prayers for his friends like you that I know are terribly hurt by this. I also want prayers for all the people that he touched. Okay, I would raising my kids. I've always tried to teach them to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And one of my prayers is that due to this unfortunate and terrible crime, I hope and I pray that this allows or this moves people, thousands of college-age students, young kids, older people, everybody, to stand up and start speaking the truth. Evil prevails when good men stay silent. And it's time for us as good men to stand up and to stop being silent. I'm trying to organize a vigil for him here at the Capitol in Cheyenne Saturday. And I'm not kind of a plug, but anybody who's in the Cheyenne or the Wyoming area, it'll be 9 o'clock in front of the state capitol. And what I want that to be is a very peaceful remembrance of Charlie and the values that he held, that he passed on to people, that he showed every day. Right now, we are in the midst of a spiritual battle, okay, between good and evil, between Satan and God. And people need to understand that that's what's driving a lot of this stuff from the left. Okay, it's evil. It's pure evil. And it's time for the good to stand up and unite and speak the truth. Speak to the people out there. Stand up and show their love, their honesty, and their respect. Okay.
Beautifully put. I have to take a break. Beautifully put. And I appreciate it, Bill, very, very much. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let's go to Terry, Flint, Michigan, XM Satellite. Terry, go right ahead, please.
Hey, Mark, I just wanted to call in. We're involved in prison ministry. Been doing it for about 16 years. I'll be as short as I can. And we go in for 3.5-day weekends, and then we go in for accountability every Thursday night. I was just with 55 men that some of them are doing life. It's just amazing how God works. But when we all prayed out, they all had prayers that they wrote down. And out of those 50 guys, there had to have been at least 25, maybe even a couple more, that were praying for Charlie Kirk's family. And I'm telling you, man, I listen to you all the time, and I do this every Thursday night. I drive about 100 miles to come up here, and we do prisons all over the state. And to see what God does, and to see these men tonight, every color, every group, everybody, and praying for them. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's beautiful.
Because God's got it all under control, brother. He's got it all under control. So,
well, Terry, thank you. And that is, we Jews call that's a real mitzvah. You can check that word out. That is fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Terry. Go to our buddy Ivan, Miramar Beach, Florida, XM Satellite. Ivan, how are you, my friend?
Mark, I'm disheartened, Mark.
Yeah,
But, Mark, this is what happens when Democrats are out of ideas, Mark. This is what happens when citizens don't buy into your vision. Then you resort to violence. You want to silence them you want to silence their voice. You want to silence their speech. And this is also a result of Democrat AGs and judges not prosecuting crime, Mark. It emboldens bad actors to act badly, and it creates a lawless mentality that you can trample the border, you can human traffic, you can kill, you can rape, you can rob with impunity. But thank God Donald Trump is on the job. Mark, law and order will be restored. And I encourage your audience to keep the faith that God will use this to draw people to himself. And you make no mistake about this, Mark. The Democrat Party is evil, and they're anti-God. This is you have anti-Semitism, everything they do, anti-Semitism, the trans ideology, the global warming, all of that is anti-God. God creates the weather. They wanted to silence Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk got young people to think for themselves and stop being sheeples, Mark. But anyway, I just want to encourage your audience to just know that God's got this, and he's going to use this to bring an awakening back to the American people. And I appreciate everything you do, Mark. But this is anti-Semitism. This is anti-God, and that's what the Democrat Party is, evil and anti-God, Mark.
I happen to agree with you. I mean, just by their own conduct, the words, all this violence, they'll keep talking about January 6th. They're living January 6th day in and day out, day in and day out. This is a party, the Democrat Party, we might recall, that fought to the bitter end for slavery, fought to the bitter end for segregation and Jim Crow. They pretend they didn't, but they did. It's a Democrat Party, even under FDR and the New Deal, that was thoroughly anti-Semitic and would not allow the Jews to escape Europe to come into this country. And I can go on and on and on about this Democrat Party. Open borders, women sold into sex slavery, children sold into sex slavery, missing children by the hundreds of thousands. And that's a policy that they intentionally put in place. It's not a party of the people, of any people, race, color, creed, sex, or whatever. It's not a party of the people. They just happen to own the media. They are the media. And so they can spin their reality and trying to have some people believe it's the reality. All right, my man, you're the best. You take care of yourself. Ivan's been with us a long time. We love our man, Ivan. We've had some really great calls here tonight from all over the country, if you'll notice. Every corner of the country, because that's what we do here. Well, I want you to know that Saturday's Life, Liberty, and Levin will be all focused on Charlie and his principles, and you're going to hear Charlie. Just as I did yesterday, you're going to hear from Charlie about a whole bunch of subjects, because I'm going to step out of the way and play for you, and you'll see in the physical reality what we discussed in March of 2020 when the pandemic was breaking out. And I was told, I don't know if we want to do that. I said, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to interview Charlie. He's got a new book. And by the way, Charlie was working on yet another book. And guess what it was about? Faith. Faith, faith, faith. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel, and you, the American people. Thank God for you. And we will continue to remember the people who died and their families on 9/11, and we will continue to remember our dear friend who was assassinated, Charlie Kirk.